Hey guys, welcome back to Moons Out 2026, brought to you by Nocturn Industries, suppliers of all sorts of fantastic night vision equipment, including some incredibly cool quad mount nods that they have coming out with add-ons and oh man, it's a really cool system. And I wish I could afford it, but I'm sure at least a couple of you guys can. You should definitely check it out. And of course, they have all manner of less prohibitively expensive, cool night vision stuff. So we're very happy to have had Nocturn as our title sponsor for the match this year. Let's dive back into our stages. Stage 6, Run Through the Jungle, is a cool stage actually based on a scene from a Croatian war movie sponsored by CTF Photonics and their new laser aiming modules. This stage, as before, I am shooting in passive division, so I have an XPS-2 EOTech that is awkwardly not the night vision compatible one, on top of a CMMG Banshee 9mm carbine. Stage starts with you moving across some terrain to up here, where there are 3 targets sitting down in the little creek bed. You have to engage them on the move, can't stop, have to keep actually walking while you engage. Then you move up a bit farther, and there are 4 targets up here. Those you can stop, and I do stop to engage those. They're a bit farther away. Not a problem to spot these even in passive division. Actually worked out pretty well. Once you've engaged those 4 targets, you're going to do a high-value clearing shot on the rightmost target. The idea there is you drop the magazine and then fire the one chambered round at the target. If you miss, it is a gigantic 60-second penalty, but it renders your gun definitely safe because can only be 1 round in the chamber and you fired it, so the 180 rule no longer applies and you can let it dangle off a sling, like I'm doing here. We then have to grab this sledge with a heavily weighted drag dummy. That guy is made out of concrete and fire hoses, and drag him back to the beginning of the stage. This is definitely a good way to get yourself winded. This was a fun stage, relatively short, but I love stages in open terrain with some movement and a physical aspect. And this kind of had all of it. So once you get the guy back, you're going to grab a cannon, and you're supposed to actually move over to the shooting box where our videographer is right now. The RO reminds me to do that. So I'm going to come back over here, and we have 2 BMPs out there. Maybe a bit of a long barrel for a BMP. The close one is worth a 5-second bonus. The long one is worth a 30-second bonus. And I get a 0 bonus because I managed to miss the long one. Stage 7, Vehicle Ambush, sponsored by T-Rex Arms. They donated a whole slew of fully rigged out chest rigged plate carriers with armor to the prize table, which was very cool. So this actually ties into the bug out stage that we had on the first night. This is, you have been ambushed in the vehicle, so you have to get out of the vehicle, engage 9 paper targets, but all of your gear is in the trunk of the vehicle. So after you have double tapped all 9 targets and once again cleared the rifle with a high value shot, you then go to the trunk of the vehicle where you have to get out all of your gear that you had previously taken off. So that would include web belts, chest rigs, armor, all that sort of stuff. You have to put that all back on so that there is nothing of your stuff left in the trunk. I had a bit of a problem here. I have a battle belt where it's like a belt inside a wide padded carrier array, and the belt slipped down inside the padded belt. I couldn't fish it out in the dark, so I end up grabbing the whole thing. I get my second mag, which I'm going to need for the actual shooting, and then I just clamp the thing between my knees and engage the targets a second time. The rule was you have to have control of all of your gear, and I do indeed have that. So, and I have a malfunction here. This was my one, and if I remember correctly, only malfunction of the match. I don't know exactly what happened. Probably a failure to feed. I couldn't quite see it in the dark. I just ripped the mag, racked it a couple times to clear it, reloaded, and re-engaged. So, fun target. One of our larger target arrays for the match, and one that a stage that I did, well, I would have done better on if I'd not had trouble getting my gear back out of the car and onto my person, but still, fun one, good stage. Stage 8 is the Great Yomp, sponsored by Expeditionary Training. If you need night rifle training, definitely check them out. Their website and Instagram are down in the description text below. This is a stage themed on the Great Yomp of the British Royal Marine Commandos across East Falkland in 1982. So You've got a 60-pound sandbag on an Alice carrier backpack frame, and the stage begins traversing 4 of these tripwires, and the tripwires are each connected to 12-gauge shot shell blank, basically booby trap activators. And if you trip one of these, the stage is over, and you take par time and all penalties. And because of the rain over the weekend, everything was nice and muddy, which made that exciting and slippery. Fortunately, not fortunately, I was very careful and took lots of time to get across those, and did so without incident. You then run, quote unquote, with the backpack over to the next bay where there is a 3x3 grid of objects. You start by going to the center. There are 2 targets at the back of the bay, and you have to hit each one once. This was a bit challenging from the middle row of targets, but I was able to get them. You then have a radio that is on the backpack. You can actually see it right there in the middle of the screen. Once you make your hits, there's an RO sitting up on the hill behind the stage who will call out a radio command of where you are supposed to go next. So in this case, I have to figure out, like, what is he talking about? I need to go to the VTAC barricade. So whichever obstacle is called out, you move to that obstacle and once again make a hit on each of the 2 targets. This got a bit more challenging. From the back here, I had a very difficult time seeing the right-hand target in particular. So, come on, here we go. It took me a couple tries to get the left-hand one, but I was able to, and then that right-hand target is just really hard to get. And I ended up giving up on it rather than waste all of my par time trying to get that target. So we're going to give it a little bit more try here. This was just an issue of it was a very dark night, lots of cloud cover, no good moon, contrary to the name of the match, and a lot of fog, actually, which made for some kind of interesting, creepy conditions. And I was shooting passive, so I don't have a laser to use, I don't have an infrared illuminator, and of course there's no white light allowed in the entire match. And I just could not see where the target was. So, all right, at this point, I've formally abandoned that target, which means I'll get a 60-second penalty for it. I'm then told to move to the pallets and engage again. And I'm just as far away from the targets. So once again, with a couple of tries, I'm able to get the left-hand one, and the right-hand one is just a bridge too far for me. It's kind of interesting that you can just barely see it on our main filming night vision tube there, but I can't see it through mine. So I abandoned that one as well. And the next obstacle that I'm told to go to is this tank trap, sort of. It's up at the front. And from here, I'm close enough that I can actually see both of the targets, and I'm able to make both of the hits. And then we have one last array. These are all drawn at random. Fortunately, I luck out and I don't have to go all the way to the back. I just go to the middle, to the horizontal wall, make one more set of hits, and that will be the end of the match, at the end of the stage for me. So passive here, again, this is sort of what I was expecting for a passive run like this, especially with a not quite night vision oriented version of the EOTech. It was difficult. I was able to make some hits. I was not able to make others, and I'm in 115th place out of 146 shooters on this particular stage. Stage 9 is our Kasarda drill. We almost always have one of these in the match, and it is sponsored by Varusteleka, the company that actually ran the very first brutality match ever north of Helsinki, actually at the Lopi range in Finland. So the concept of the Kasarda drill, if you're not familiar with it, is you have a kettlebell. In this case, it is a 60-pound kettlebell. You throw it, you then move to where it landed, engage the target, put your rifle down, throw the kettlebell, and you repeat this. Normally this is done moving up or down range. In this case, we are running this laterally across the range. So every time you get to the end of the bay or past one of those sticks on the ground, you get a 5-second bonus. And the rule here is you continue this stage for the entire 240-second par time allowed for the stage. So this becomes a question of how hard will you push yourself? How much does your marksmanship degrade as you get winded and tired? Fortunately, I was able to see this target pretty darn well. Not a clean stage. I had to make more than one shot on a number of occasions, but I didn't have any trouble actually seeing the target, which I was really happy with. One of those things where I was able to get the nods in line with the EOTech despite it being mounted a bit low. I could see the target. Like I mentioned in the video of the first day, I kind of did the bend and aiming concept throughout the entire match, where the EOTech reticle was a little bit too bright. I would set my left hand night vision tube so that it was focused on that reticle, set my right hand one focused essentially out at infinity, and let my brain combine the two images to be able to get the reticle over the target. And that actually worked pretty well. A couple times here where I had to look around a bit to try and find the kettlebell. But the rule for this particular stage was you shot kneeling with different iterations of the Kasarda drill. Sometimes it's standing, sometimes it's prone, sometimes it's more than one hit. In this case, it was one hit kneeling. And that was kind of deliberate. We tried to, the match director who designed our stages, specifically tried to keep competitors off of the ground just in case of rain, which we did have, and relatively cold temperatures because this is West Virginia at night in March. It was relatively cold, and we didn't want to potentially have to deal with any hypothermia cases. So keep people off the ground, keep people from getting too wet as much as possible, and thus this stage is shot kneeling. Really is pretty cool for me to look back at the first person view and see that EOTech reticle right lined up on the target. So, we're still going here. This is an exhausting stage. Normally, brutality match stages are 3-minute par times. We upped it to 4 minutes for the match this year. By the way, also, there was a flasher on that target. So when you hit it, that light flashes off to indicate that you did, in fact, hit the target. I am getting pretty darn winded by this point, but personally, I really enjoy these stages. I like this sort of stage concept, and if I may say so myself, I'm pretty good at this one, and so it's enjoyable to keep going. You can see there I had thrown the kettlebell right up to the line, so it only needed to go about a foot to get over the line, so I didn't even bother standing up to do that. But you have to push it over the line and then take another shot to get credit for the bonus of getting to the end of the bay. I know I'm running out of time here. I know it's getting really close. It just becomes a question of how many can I get? And we'll keep pushing. We'll get one more. Should be able to do one more. The kettlebell crossed, and now it's a matter of get down, get on target, and can we do it? Can we do it? There it is. I'm going to try for one more. I don't really have the time here. I'm able to throw the kettlebell and it gets across the line and then par time. So I managed a total of 14 bonuses, which was excellent for that stage. That was probably my best stage of the match. All right, our last stage, number 10, the Meth House. This is our shoot house brought to you by Altama. Awesome hardcore boots. And hardcore boots were necessary here because thanks to the rain, the inside of the shoot house was a whole lot of sloppy mud. This starts with a flashbang simulator. Open up the door, heave that guy in, and then go in and engage all of the paper targets. We have a significantly larger shoot house this year than we did on previous years, and somewhere inside the shoot house here is hidden a Fed finder. If you shoot the Fed finder, there's no further description of it, by the way, then it's a Fed finder. You'll know it when you see it, presumably. If you shoot it, you get like 1,000-second par time and the stage is over. It is highly discouraged. So we're going to go from room to room here. It is a bit of a navigational hazard. Well, not hazard, a bit of a navigational challenge. There are a lot of obstacles inside there and mud. And of course, it's pretty dark outside. It's even darker inside. You can see how much that camera, the PVS, we're actually filming on a PVS 31 here, and you can see how much it's struggling with gain to get a good visual. That's the Fed finder, that cute little guy right between the two targets. Do not shoot the cute puppy. Do shoot all of the paper targets. And then you come out the far end of the shoot house after the last set of paper targets, and there are 4 steel targets to engage. kneel down to get a little bit of a better view. These were some relatively small targets, a couple poppers and a couple static. And this was designed so that even a 40-round mag like I had would not be enough to finish the stage without a reload. So just a couple shots left here, and there we are. That is, oh, wait, no, there we go. That is the last of it. So that was my Moons Out 2026 run. I did this during the staff match, shooting passive division. I do have a second run through that I did shooting thermal, which we'll cover in a separate video in a week or two. Overall, I placed 97th out of 146, 4th out of 7 in passive division. Passive is a very difficult division. We only had a few people signed up for it. I like the challenge. I think it's interesting to practice this without having infrared emissions. And I may very well do this again next year, but get a bit of a more optimized, better setup and see if I can do a bit better. Maybe crack the top 50% would be cool. Hopefully you guys enjoyed the video. Definitely stay tuned for the follow-up thermal run. And of course, Moons Out will be back for 2027. We'll have a save the date video coming up just to remind you when we have tickets going on sale for 2027. Thanks for watching.